Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Chris here, CG Aviator, for an exciting episode with the BAE Systems Hawk T1. For those of you that are new here, I'm a former real-world fast jet flying instructor, and in this video I'll be losing control of my jet in the form of a spin. This is something that formed part of my training as an RAF pilot, so I invite you to join me in cockpit as I talk you through the real setup and recovery procedures and lots of airmanship considerations as we go along, including the aptly named SHITAS checks. So let's have a look how it's done. Welcome to the cockpit of the Hawk T1. Here we are of the northwest of Wales. You can see RAF Valley's down there to the right, 3 o'clock. RAF Mona is in the middle distance, just under that cloud layer. So that is where we are. In terms of height or altitude, or even flight level, we're up at 290, using 1013 as our regional pressure setting and also our standard pressure setting. So for those of you that know, they're the same today, so it's all simple. Before we do our spin, it's really important to run through our checks, and the key thing to remember here is working out our heights. So the HASLL checks are our pre-aerobatic requirement. The H is for height, 3 heights. The entry height, which has to be between flight level 250 and 300, which we are. Our minimum height to commence recovery, which has to be 15,000 MSD, or minimum separation distance. So that's, think of that as above ground level with allowance for any obstructions, mast towers, etc. that might be there. For us today, I'll use 1,000 feet. So minimum height to commence recovery for us will be 16,000 feet on the altimeter. If you're over cloud, you can do it, but you'll have to add 10,000 feet onto the top of the cloud, and that will be then your minimum height to commence recovery if it's higher than your ground-based one, if you follow what I mean. Finally, you need to work out your minimum abandonment height. So if the aircraft doesn't recover, what altitude are you going to jump out? And it's always 5,000 feet, or it's always in this aircraft, 5,000 feet. And again, MSD, so I'm going to add 1,000 feet on, so 6,000 feet for our minimum abandonment height. We're going to use 16,000 feet for our minimum height to commence recovery, and we know we're in the bracket for entering. Final parts of the HASLL check's really simple. We've got the airframe, gear, flap, air brake all up and in. The configuration is suitable for spinning. In terms of S for security, we're making sure that our pockets would be done up. We've got no loose articles, pens, pencils, rubbers, rulers, EFBs, maps, taps, whatever it is. Make sure it can't float around the cockpit. There's Mona down there to the right, 2 o'clock. You'll notice that I'm looking out all the time I'm doing this to make sure that the airspace is clear, particularly down below us, because that's where we're going to head soon, because that's where spins go. And as part of the lookout, I'm also checking the locations. That's the final L of HASLL. So clear of active airfields, built-up areas, clouds, controlled airspace, and danger areas. So make sure that there are no built-up areas beneath us, so that if we do abandon the aircraft and it spins down to the ground, then it'll not hurt anybody down there. HASLL checks complete. Next, we're going to run through what I mentioned before, the SHITAS checks. Always worth a quick pre-brief just to know what you're doing as you go into the spin. So for that, we're going to look at the speed. Our entry speed will be 160 to 170 knots in a 30-degree bank turn. The height, we've already mentioned the height. We're going to select idle, which I've already done to keep the speed coming back at this stage. TGT will monitor to make sure that's nice and low. Ailerons have to be neutral, and the spin direction will be in the direction of our bank, which will be to the right. Entry speed is going to be 170 knots. We're currently approaching that now, and we are still clear down below. So here we go. Full backstick, full right rudder. The first turn is the incipient stage, and now we're in the fully developed spin. Very cool. Up to 4 spins, that's 2. We're monitoring the height throughout, that's 27.5. We're monitoring the TGT to make sure it's not increasing. We're monitoring the speed because we don't want to go below 180 knots. We're currently at 160. That's about 4 turns, so I'm exceeding my maximum just as a point of demonstration. And that's through 23,000 for our minimum height to commence recovery of 16. And that's it. That's what it looks like to spin in a Hawk. To recover, I'm going to centralize all control, so rudder and stick. I'm going to look for the horizon, roll to it, and pull to the light buffet to recover, keeping the throttle to idle. Once we're back to the horizon, everything's sensible. I'm now going to apply some power, very slowly, proving the engine, listening for any surges or looking for any spikes in the TGT. And that is how you spin a Hawk T1. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.